It's Ash from Super Videos back for another live stream discussion for The Walking Dead. We haven't done one of these in quite a long time, so I thought it was time to, or it would be a good time to have like a free flowing live stream for The Walking Dead. It could be Q&A, it could be anything, but the focus is going to be on the Rick movies, and we're going to be making some predictions about not only the title but also the format and what we might potentially see. Now, if you go to the link to the poll that I have in the description, and I'll pull it up here in just a few minutes. So it's in the description, but I'm also putting it on the chat here. If you go to that, you'll see a list of potential titles that I have for the very first one. So if you could go there and let me know your or your predictions on what the title could be or what the best title is for the first Rick movie, and we'll kind of bring it up and talk about it as we go. But Giuseppe De Rosa is live here or on the chat saying what's up, how are you? Glad you could join us. I just want to wait to have more people join here before we continue. This stream was a little spontaneous, but I thought instead of doing another live stream gameplay, today we'll be doing a live stream discussion video. But let's see how many people join here. And just as we're waiting, I'm just going to check the poll to see if there's been any kind of update. Yeah, there's been some updates. So I'll be pulling that up in a few minutes here as well. But for those of you that are on right now watching, let me know. Giuseppe Rosa, Yosh, I really look forward to these live streams. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully more people will join us here, even though, like I said, it was spontaneous and last minute in a way. But let's see how many people join. But what I am gonna do is, whoops, wrong one. What I am gonna do is open up the poll and just talk a little bit about that while we're waiting. So let me see, why didn't that come up? That's weird. Okay, so let me pull up the poll here. I don't know what's going on with this here. Yeah, there we go. Poll. There we go. So as you can see, the options that I have, and obviously you can let me know your thoughts if something that's not on there is your predictions. Let me know. But the question is the poll question, and I have the link in the chat. What should the very first Walking Dead Rick feature film be called? Aftermath, Legacy, Life and Death, Genesis, The Last Stand, Rebirth, Worlds Collide, New World Order, A New Beginning, The Escape, Rise and Fall, and A Larger World. And there's reasons why I came up with these names. These aren't just random names I came up with. And I'll talk a little bit more about the reasoning behind coming up with these names in a minute here. But right now we have 2 votes for Aftermath, 2 votes for Legacy, 2 for Life and Death, and 2 for Genesis. My favorite ones would be Life and Death and Legacy. I think these, and maybe even Aftermath, makes sense as well. So these are my top picks, and I think looking at where the story is going to be going, most likely in the very first feature film, it kind of gives us an idea about what kind of title they might give us. So that's one of them. And also Legacy, I've always been a big fan of a Walking Dead movie called Legacy. It's just something about Legacy and Rick Grimes' legacy and that kind of perspective that I find very interesting. But you can definitely go and participate in the chat if you haven't done already. Giuseppe Rosa, the thing is, Ash, we don't even know what the Rick movie will be about. Well, here's the thing. I think we have a little bit of idea based on where we left off and based on the news that we've been hearing from other places. So I think the very first film will most likely be about Rick and Jadis's journey from where we last saw them, which was in the or near where everyone else was, and they got transported by the helicopter. So the first film is going to be their journey from there to the new community, and most likely some background about what this community is and who these people are and what A and B is. We of course had a lot of clues and hints and discussion about A and B and what it really means. So that will most likely be revealed in the very first feature film. And most likely what's going to happen is we're going to most likely or hopefully have Rick trying to get back to his family and to the people that he cares about. But something is going to have to be stopping him from doing that. So I think the very first movie is going to be just Rick dealing with everything at that place that he's going to, the community, and him trying to find his way out of there and to get away. He could, or there's a possibility that he would stay there voluntarily for a little bit and they would have to explain why that is, maybe to help out or something. But I think it makes the most sense for Rick to really want to get out of there and get back to his family. So the very first movie is going to be about that. It's going to be about Rick's journey to that place and his mission to get away. That movie, the first one, is most likely going to end with a sign of someone that we know from either Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead going to wherever Rick is at, that community. I think that could be like the big cliffhanger of the very first movie, or the big event at the end of this first movie. Then in the second one, I think alongside them having that integration of this new character or this character from Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead into the second movie, it's also, and one thing I do want to say as a side note is Michonne might be the one that makes the most sense for a character that would come. So at the end of the first one, we would get a hint of Michonne coming, and in the second one, she would really enter. And the other thing that we gotta remember is that the very first film, it's gonna take place during the 6-year time jump that we had, and even after that, a few months after that. So it's not like Rick is only in this new community for a couple weeks or months. He's been there for a couple years. So something has had to happen to have kept him there. So they're going to have to explain all of that and to tell us the story of what really went down during those 6 years in the very first movie. And then, like I said, at the end of it, we'll most likely see someone, most likely Michonne, or a hint at someone, most likely Michonne, entering the story. And in the second movie, it's going to be Michonne reuniting with Rick and maybe have a story between them in this new kind of environment and this new society in a way. And we might see that take place and alongside other stuff that might be spilled over from the very first movie. And they're, again, going to try to most likely get out of the community. Michonne most likely will tell Rick about the threat of the Whispers and everything that happened. And we might potentially see a scenario where they're going to really try to get out, but they're not able to. Maybe they're captured, maybe they're in the middle of a war or something along those lines. The third movie is more difficult to kind of think about because it could potentially be Rick's final movie or episode or whatever you call it. He might die or end up dying at the end of it. And the events of the latest comic issue might give us an indication of how that might happen. I'm not saying that the new community that Rick is going to is the Commonwealth or anything like that, but I think they might be doing a remix of the Rick story within the Commonwealth storyline in the movies. So most likely the third movie is going to be, Rick's final moments or something like that. The last movie will, again, be following up with everything that happened in the first two movies and maybe getting us introduced to new characters, new communities, and things like that. But I think at the end of that movie, we might actually have Rick's death. But in terms of the titles, so looking at the titles, so let me bring back the poll here. For the very first movie, these are the reasons why I came up with these titles. But let me see if there's a change. And again, if you don't know, the link is in the chat. You can go and participate. There's no changes. And I'll get to the chat in a minute here. But the reason I came up with these names is Aftermath. Obviously, the aftermath of what happens when Rick escapes. That's pretty straightforward. Legacy, like I said, Rick's legacy and how Rick's legacy is moving on in a way. And like I said before, I've been a fan of a Walking Dead movie called Legacy, so that's why I have it in there. Life and death, and the concept of life and death, or reason why I came up with it, is going back to what Jada said and what this new community is all about. You're either an A or you're a B. So A being maybe being alive and B maybe being dead or something like that. So life and death, the name itself comes from there. That's why I put it. So that's the reason why I have. Genesis is another one. It's a backstory for this new community. If it's the Commonwealth, which I don't think it is, then that also kind of connects to that. But also Genesis, if this new community is truly doing experiments, and this goes back to A and B, so if they are really doing like medical experiments or things like that, looking at Genesis, we could get some sort of reveals or maybe hints about the origin of the virus and things like that. So that's the reason I have that. The Last Stand, it goes back to Rick's last stand, and maybe things in the community leading towards a battle or a war or something like that. But also The Last Stand, Commonwealth, that kind of connects to that. So that's the reason why I have there, or that. Rebirth, in a way, this could be Rick's rebirth into another world. You know what I mean? The first time when he came out of the coma, he came into the apocalyptic world. This could be another rebirth for Rick. This time he's entering a society that's very big in a post-apocalyptic world. Worlds Collide, another obvious one, because we had the world that we know, which is the Walking Dead world, and there's the world outside of what we know, which is this new big community that's out there. New World Order, that's pretty obvious. I am not a big fan of that name because I don't think it makes sense for the Commonwealth to be in the Rick movie, so that's why I don't think it makes sense for the storyline to be called that, or the movie to be called the storyline for the Commonwealth, if you know what I mean. A New Beginning, another generic one. We've seen that on The Walking Dead. The Escape, Rick, maybe Rick's escape, that's what I was getting at. Rise and Fall, maybe the rise and fall of maybe Rick, maybe whoever is leading this community, or maybe the start, the rise and the start to the fall of whoever is leading. A Larger World is also another generic one. So these are like my reasoning behind coming up with these names. But let me get to the chats here before I just talk about the poll again. Giuseppe De Rosa, sorry I'm back. Giuseppe De Rosa, are you more excited for the Rick movies or season 10? That's a great question. I would say I'm more excited for the Rick movies only because there's a lot of mystery around it and we still don't know a lot of things. For season 10, we kind of have a rough idea where the story is going, and it's a long way out. Not that the Rick movie isn't, but we just know a little bit more about the season 10, because of the comic story and because of where we left off. But for the Rick movies, it's a little bit more mysterious, which makes it more interesting and exciting. Giuseppe De Rosa, well, in the comics, Rick is most likely dead and Carl is alive. In the show, Rick is alive and Carl is dead, so I don't like the change. Yeah, that is very, very interesting. But yeah, we gotta accept it. Rick is probably gonna die in the comic book, so we have to embrace ourselves in a way. Giuseppe De Rosa, I hope Rick never dies. Yeah, I had hoped that too, but we saw what happened in the comics and in the show. In a way, he's really dead. Even though he's in the movies, the thing is, he's probably never going to come back to the show. And after the 3 movies, we just don't know what they're going to do with him. So, in a way, Rick is really dead, other than the movies. Giuseppe De Rosa, if they kill off Daryl the way they killed Rick in the comics, I'll be pissed. I don't think they'll give it to Daryl. It's too easy for them to give it to Daryl. I think they're probably going to give it to someone else. I hope it's not a minor character. I hope it's a big character. If they even do it, like they might not even do it. They might completely remix that. But if they give it to someone, I hope it's some big character and not a minor character. But Daryl, I think it's just too easy, too easy of a pick. I hope they give it to someone else. Maybe Carol might be an interesting one for them to give that to. Negan, imagine if Negan gets that. But I don't think it'll be Daryl. I think it's too easy for it to be Daryl. Giuseppe De Rosa, if Daryl dies, I'm done with the main show. For me, it's either if Daryl dies or if Carol dies. I think right now, obviously Michonne is gonna leave, but the 2 main characters that are holding the story together are Carol and Daryl. So if you kill one or both of them, that I think that's when we have to be really worried. And that's the only time I might consider not watching anymore. Giuseppe De Rosa, I just read that. Giuseppe De Rosa, do you think the movies will introduce a bigger villain than Negan? Depends what you mean by bigger. More threatening, more dark? I don't think so. But more powerful? Absolutely. More powerful, I think. I think the thing is with the movies, I think they're going to do with the villains that they're going to introduce. I think it'll be something like the Commonwealth, but not quite the Commonwealth. I still think they're going to do Commonwealth on the TV show, but I think they're going to do a version of Commonwealth in a weird way, maybe in a remixed way in the movies. Giuseppe De Rosa, I will be honest, Angela Kang did a great job for season 9. She may have or was my favorite season. There was a lot of strong episodes. There were some things I didn't agree with, but in general, very strong episodes. And even though I didn't like some episodes, I liked the storyline, and I found every episode interesting and exciting, or exciting, or both. But I agree with you 100%. Angela Kang probably saved The Walking Dead with what she did with season 9. And I can't wait for season 10 with Angela Kang on board, or still on board. Giuseppe De Rosa, I don't think Walking Dead could be good without Rick. Yeah, I had my doubts, but after season 9, I think we'll be fine. I think we're okay. Giuseppe De Rosa, they should give Rick's death to Aaron. I don't think it works with Aaron. Rick's death, if they do it exactly the same in the TV show, in the same time period, the people that it would work with is Carol, if Michonne is there, Michonne, Daryl, and yeah, Aaron could work, I'll give you that, but they have to set him up as being a more bigger character and having more storylines and a bigger impact on the story in the upcoming seasons. Other than that, I don't see anyone else being able to get that death and do it justice. Giuseppe De Rosa, AMC shouldn't kill Daryl or Carol. Those are the 2 characters holding the show. Absolutely, at this point. Later on, things might change, but at this point, it'll be very detrimental to the show if they kill one or both of those. NoahJink75, hey Ash, do you think the idea of Carol-Lydia relationship being explored more? The connections that they have, absolutely. And in a way, Carol and Lydia's storyline could be a interesting remix of a storyline that we saw in another story, The Last of Us, Joel and Ellie. They could do something along those lines, and they could build a relationship that not is duplicated or is a duplicate of or is a copy of, but similar in an interesting way of that story. So I like it, but I just hope that they don't go overboard with it and just copy the Joel and Ellie situation, because there's a lot of connections, or not a lot. There's a lot of similarities, I would say. Giuseppe De Rosa season 8, and what I mean by that is Carol lost their son and daughters and whatever, all their children in a way. Joel lost his daughter at the start of the story, and then they had to protect this little girl. Carol is having to protect Lydia potentially. So that's where the similarities are coming from. Giuseppe De Rosa season 8 war could have been way better. Absolutely. I think they could have done a lot better season 7 and also this war in season 8. I liked season 8 more than season 7, but I think they could have done both a lot better. Let's get back to the poll here. And if you don't know, go to the poll here in the chat and vote for your favorite Walking Dead title or movie title. I have a few in there, no updates yet, but these are the options. And at the beginning of the stream, I kind of went over the reason why I came up with these names in the first place. If you have other names that you want to bring up, put it in the chat for sure, but also put it in the comments here. I put these comments for a purpose because obviously there's going to be names that I'm not going to know or think about, but they're going to be great names. So put that in as well. And maybe we'll do a follow-up of this poll and this type of stream and this stream later on. Giuseppe De Rosa, I hope they don't make the Whisper War a whole stream or season. I hope so. I hope so as well. I think if season 8, or if they learned anything, they should have learned a lot about season 8 and the concept of All Out War being the entire season, because it just didn't work. And I hope that they don't follow a similar thing. I hope they, stay away from that. And if they're going to do it, I hope they integrate that story with another story. I hope it's not just the Whisper War. You know what I mean? Like, I like the concept that Ronnie Hayes from Make a Path Presents brought up in his recent video, which is the first half could be what could be looked at as Cold War, because these two communities, the survivors and the Whisperers have beef, but in a way there's this not peace, but there's this kind of moment between them where they're not necessarily in war, but they are in a Cold War. You know what I mean? So the first half could explore that. Then the second half, or near the first half, close to the second half, we could get into the war. And, we could have a couple episodes with the war. And then as we get closer to the end of the season, the Commonwealth situation could start. And we could get hints about that. And they could integrate and merge the story that way as well. So that way, it's like they're blending together. So we're going from the end of the season 9, into a Cold War type of situation. And then it blends into an actual war erupting between them. And then as we get closer to the end of the season, the war is going to end. But then there's this new kind of threat potentially, or this new hint of this, new big community, Commonwealth coming. And, they could blend in the story that way. NovaJink75. Maybe Kirkman had it all planned out with Rick dying in the comics. He coordinated with the TV show writers to fake us out with Rick not dying and then have him die in the comics. Yeah, they could have definitely had some sort of plan to have that play out, because it is, I don't think it's a coincidence that I think in 1 year we had Rick dying in the comics, or potentially dying in the comics, spoiler alert, Rick leaving in the TV show, being or faking us out about his death, and the news about his movies or the Rick movies coming all within 1 year, like I said. So I don't think it's a coincidence. I think there's definitely something behind that for sure between Kirkman and the writers, Angela Kang and Scott Gimple. Giuseppe De Rosa, they should make the first half like Cold War and then the second half like a real war. That's exactly what I just talked about. Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I gotta give the what do you call that? The credit to Ronnie Hayes from Make It Path Presents, because he came up with that idea. Noah Jink 75 Q&A, which villain do you like the most, or do you think is the most evil? I say Alpha. Alpha for sure. I think to me it's Alpha, then, or Alpha and the Whisperers in general, then probably Negan and the Saviors, then the Governor and his crew. Giuseppe De Rosa, do you have any of the compendiums? Yeah, I have all three of them. I don't know when 4 is coming. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I have all 3 compendiums, yes. Giuseppe De Rosa, I want the Walking Dead compendium to end on compendium 6. Well, we're going to 4. There's most likely going to be a 5th one. I don't know how complete that's going to be, but there's going to be a 5th one. I don't know about compendium 6 though. The comics, I don't know how long they're going to go. If they're going to go 200 issues, then we might not even have a compendium 5. You know what I mean? Noah Jink 75. I think Alpha is such a unique villain because she's someone who commands and doesn't take any bullshit from anyone. Absolutely. That's good and bad, both. What we've seen is how she has no emotions except for her daughter. Absolutely. And that's something that I absolutely loved them, or absolutely loved what they did in the TV show with Alpha. I think Alpha's story was fleshed out a lot better than in the TV show than the comic book. Negan, on the other hand, I think it was fleshed out better in the comics than the TV show, backwards. And the Governor, I think the comics as well. Giuseppe De Rosa, how many issues will The Walking Dead have when it's all said and done? Your prediction. I think 200. 200, I think. I know that's only 10 issues away, and they would have already talked about it, but to me, 200 issues for The Walking Dead as we know it. You know what I mean? If they continue past 200, then the story is going to be so different that it's not going to really feel like The Walking Dead. So, how many issues will The Walking Dead have? I think 200. After that, if they continue, which they're probably going to do, it's going to look a lot different than what we're used to. It has to. I mean, at this point, they've done like 200 issues, like I said. There's only so much you can do with this story and these stories. So they might switch gears a little bit, and they might give us something unique and interesting that we've never seen before after that. Novajink 75. I hope in season 10 we get to see Alpha tell more about her relationship with Lydia. I hope so, yeah. Their relationship is so unique because they both love each other, but the definition of love is the gray area. Yeah, I don't know how much Lydia really loves Alpha at this point, but I see what you're saying. Definitely. Let me look at the poll again for a sec to see if there's any update. Nope, no updates yet. Again, the poll link is in the chat here, and it's also in the description. So go and participate. Where was I? Giuseppe De Rosa, I'm satisfied if The Walking Dead ends on season 10 or 15. I don't think they're going to go with 15 seasons. I think 11 or 12 seasons might be where we're going to go, or how far we're going to go. Novajink 75. Q&A, do you think our people should strike the Whisperers and end them quickly. I say that because someone made an argument that our people should do that before they strike first. That could be good and bad at the same time. Good because they are not going to see it coming. Bad because if something goes wrong, they're screwed, you know? Because of the herd that the Whisperers have. So I think they should not be so or jump into something that they haven't thought about all the way through. But it could be good because they're not expecting it, like I said. Noah Jinx 75. Also, Alpha's horde is growing bigger and bigger as the days pass. This is not any argument, by the way. I'm just saying another point of view. Or my argument. Yeah, absolutely. And also, the other thing we gotta remember is we don't even know if the herd is gonna stay there or if it's mobile, like the Whispers, or they move them around or something. I don't know how that's possible with that many walkers, but that's interesting because if they are mobile, the Whisperers, which they are, then maybe they can think of a plan like they did with No Way Out to move the herd in a certain direction or to prevent them from going their way and get them to go the Whisperers' way, you know what I mean? And attack the Whisperers at the same time and get out before the Whisperers or the walkers get there and finish the Whisperers off. Giuseppe Rosa Alpha is one evil bitch, lol. Yeah, absolutely. Nova Tank 75. Our people are such a disadvantage or at such a disadvantage because they're dealing with a group with hundreds of people who walk among the dead and have a massing horde at their disposal. Yeah, this is unlike any enemy and threat they've ever seen before. Giuseppe Rosa, the issues coming out in the final issue for Companion 4. This issue coming out is the final issue for Companion 4. The next one? Really? I didn't know that. I thought it was 200. That's interesting. Then obviously we're going to have a Companion 5 for sure. Giuseppe De Rosa Companion is supposed to come out in October. That's a couple months away. Noah Jake 75. I hope in season 10 either Carol or Negan calls Alpha out for being such a terrible mother to Lydia. I hope so too. I think it makes more sense for Carol to bring it up than Negan. But we could have both bring it up. If you know what I mean. Because I did a video talking about how we could have Carol and Negan working together to overthrow Alpha. So that's why I brought that up. I don't know how that would happen, but I feel like someone needs to tell her. I think someone should. No, and you say Companion 4. Yeah, Companion 4 is coming out in October based on what Giuseppe De Rosa says, and I believe him. I don't see a reason why I shouldn't. Noah Jinx 75. Does Alpha really believe what she's doing with making the border with heads and pikes would make our people want to leave her alone? I feel like Alpha knows what she did wouldn't be conflict ending. Yeah, I don't think even Alpha thinks it's conflict ending. I think Alpha sees it as a temporary solution to this group. Giuseppe Rosa Alpha's horde is like a damn nuke. Absolutely. Giuseppe De Rosa, let's see, we've been going for 42 minutes here. Giuseppe De Rosa has been holding it down, by the way, on the comments or the chat. Same as Nova Jinx 75, who recently just joined the chat. Giuseppe De Rosa, which character do you wish had a movie? That's a great question. At this point, Negan and let me see. I would say Negan and Carol. Those would be most interesting. Nova Jinx 75. I wonder how Alpha's horde would be commanded. Would the Whisperer split the horde up to attack each community? That's probably the plan. That's probably how they kind of go about those kind of stuff. They break them apart and they lead them towards specific locations, most likely. Maybe not communities necessarily, but locations where they know there's going to be large amounts of the enemy group there. Giuseppe Rosa, do you think Daryl will ever have a spin-off show? I don't think he should, because he's the, well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's the lead of The Walking Dead right now. NoAjig75, Q&A, what do you think Alpha did with the bodies? This question has been bothering me for so long. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe feed them to the walkers. I don't know. That's a great question, though, but I have no answer. Giuseppe Rosa, yeah, I don't want the stream to be boring. Yeah, absolutely, and you've been holding it down, man. NoAjig75, I think Alpha left the bodies of the Pike victims where she killed them, which was in that little barn. That could be as well. And I'm sure the walkers would be attracted to the bodies that are around, the walkers that are around, and they would have eaten all the bodies by now, most likely. Oh, I missed one. Giuseppe Rosa, will Carl be the new leader of Alexandria? In the comic book, I don't think so. I think we're not going to see him lead necessarily, but he's going to be the primary character at Alexandria for sure. I don't know who the new leader is, if there's even going to be a leader. But Michonne might be the new leader if she doesn't stay at Commonwealth. But I don't know. I mean, I want to see Carl lead, but at the same time, I don't want it to happen just right away. I want it to be organic. So I don't think right away we're going to see Carl leading or anything. Giuseppe Rosa, if I were in charge of Hilltop, the Whisperers would be gone. Absolutely. Giuseppe Rosa, have you read The Walking Dead novels? No, I have not, unfortunately. I know there's one for the Governor called Rise and Fall or something, or The Fall of the Governor, or The Rise of the Governor, well, one of the two. But I haven't read any of them. Giuseppe Rosa, who's the best character of The Walking Dead? Rick Grimes. NoAjig75, for me, I'm really, or Rick Grimes in general, but in the TV show right now that's alive, Carol. NoAjig75, for me, I'm really loving Carol-Lydia relationship, especially when Carol told Lydia, you're not weak. Yeah, absolutely. Giuseppe Rosa, yes, Nova. Yeah, absolutely. That relationship and connection is very, very interesting to me. For season 10 specifically. Some updates on the poll. We have, let's see. I think someone put New World Order or A New Beginning and was added. But still the top ones are Aftermath, Legacy, Life and Death, and Genesis. And 2 votes for each. So it's split pretty evenly. And we're going to keep this poll open for a little bit here. A couple of weeks, maybe a couple months, who knows. But I do want to kind of revisit this. But if you do have any kind of other titles that you can think of, let me know and I'll put it in another poll. I can't put it on the same one, but we'll kind of look at those as well. Giuseppe Rosa, the relationship between Lydia and Henry was interesting though. Yeah, that was very interesting. A little predictable because of the Carl-Lydia relationship in the TV show or in the comics, but I wish they would have done a little bit more with that in the TV show. NoAjig75 and Alpha Carol showdown has to be a must in season 10 because they've teased it so much, especially with Carol now adopting Lydia as her own. Absolutely. Like I said in one of my other videos, that showdown is not just, or hasn't been teased or anything, or it's not just that it's teased. It's been built up as being the what's the word I'm looking for? Being the resolution and the closure of the Pike scene for a lot of the characters and even the audience. Giuseppe Rosa, the Walking Dead novels are based on Lily, the lady that killed the governor. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. I wasn't sure. NoAjig75, when Alpha does die in season 10, they should have Lydia put her reanimated head down. It would be a very good story to tell, and I think it would be better than keeping Alpha's head around like the comics. Yeah, that would be a cool and interesting way to circle things around to the Pike scene. Giuseppe Rosa, who's the best fighter in The Walking Dead? Um, that's a good question. Abraham Ford, I think. More, Murrow was very tough as well. He was a good one. Negan, for sure, in the comics specifically, but also TV show a little bit. Giuseppe Rosa, will we get a Carol versus Alpha fist fight? That would be satisfying finale. That would be a great finale. Mid-season finale, most likely. Or, actually, no, finale. If they're gonna do the Cold War thing that we talked about. But that's basically it for this stream. I don't want to push this to too long. Again, I just wanted to kind of talk about the titles that I have, the predictions for the movies, and just generally speaking, just some Q&A session. But that's basically this live stream Q&A. Thank you everyone for joining and asking questions. Thank you to Giuseppe Rosa and NovaJinx75 for holding it down on the chat. Last question from NovaJinx75, or comment, I mean. I think Alpha would beat Carol in a fight just based on her physical appearance. Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe another question from Giuseppe Rosa as well, or comment. What if the Saviors were teamed up with the Whisperers and garbage people during all that war? Then the survivors would have been, effed up. They would have been killed right away. There would have been no chance for the survivors, because that's a lot of numbers, if you think about it. But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks everyone. I will see you very soon. I don't know if I'm doing a live stream on Friday. I'm probably gonna push that to later. I'll let you guys know beforehand, but I'll definitely let you know. But at this point, I don't think I'm doing one on Friday. We'll see. But I will do a stream for Saturday, probably, for the gameplay of the Telltale's The Walking Dead. And the Q&A will definitely happen on Sunday, for sure. Or at our usual time, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Giuseppe Rosa, what's the next issue called? What is the next issue called? Let me check. I don't know if you guys can see. Yeah, you guys can see this. Oh, what happened? Where did it go? There we go. Let's go to Google. Issue 192, I think, right? That's the next one. TWD issue 192. Yep, there we go. Yep, that's the next one. And it's called Aftermath. Interesting, because we have a title named Aftermath on our poll. But yeah, it's called Aftermath, and it's probably going to be Rick's final issue. But yeah, thanks everyone for participating and asking questions and everything. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. And I will see you guys very soon.